Chosen one. Are you tired of being invisible while mediocre people get promoted? Are you exhausted from watching your prayers bounce off heaven's ceiling like they're written in disappearing ink? Are you sick of feeling like God put you on the back burner while everyone else gets the microwave treatment? If you clicked on this video on a Wednesday morning, then you didn't stumble here by accident. This isn't some random scroll through your feed moment. Heaven scheduled you for this encounter. Your spirit was summoned here like Moses being drawn to a burning bush that wouldn't stop blazing. Here's what they don't tell you about being chosen. You spend most of your life feeling like you're speaking a language nobody else understands. While others celebrate their small victories, you're carrying dreams so big they scare you. While they're content with comfort, you're restless with holy discontent that keeps you awake at 3 a.m., wondering if God forgot your address. But listen closely. Chosen one. This Wednesday morning, God is about to flip the script on every person who counted you out, every boss who overlooked you, every family member who called you too sensitive, every friend who said you were doing too much. They're about to witness something that will leave them speechless, staring, and searching for explanations that don't exist in their vocabulary. You see, God doesn't just vindicate quietly. When he decides to show up for his chosen ones, he doesn't whisper, he earthquakes. And this Wednesday, the tremors begin. Before I go any further, I want to say thank you to every single soul who has supported this message through super thanks or shared it with someone who needed to hear it. You're not just giving, you're sowing seeds into the kingdom. You're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, your time, your heart. It all matters more than you know. If your heart is already stirring, if you know deep down this word is for you, drop your city and state in the comments right now. Let heaven locate the chosen ones across this nation. Because what's about to unfold isn't just personal, it's prophetic. This Wednesday morning will be remembered as the day everything changed, the day the doubters fell silent, the day the overlooked became undeniable. Are you ready to walk into your vindication? Have you ever sat in a room full of your own family and felt like a complete stranger? Have you ever poured your heart out in prayer for decades, only to wonder if God changed his phone number? Have you ever watched people half your age get the recognition, the opportunities, the respect that you've been quietly earning for 70 years? Dear chosen one, let me speak to the wounds that nobody sees, the ones you carry behind your smile at Sunday service, the ones that throb at 2 a.m. when the house is quiet and your thoughts get loud. You've been walking this earth with oil in your lamp, but no one even noticed you were glowing. You raised children who now treat you like an inconvenience. You sacrificed your dreams to build their futures, and now they're too busy to return your phone calls. You sit at family gatherings where conversations happen around you, not with you. They ask about your health but never about your heart. They see your wrinkles but miss your wisdom. They count your years but discount your voice. And the church? Oh, the church. You've served faithfully for decades. You've tithed when your social security check was already stretched thin. You've prayed for the sick, visited the lonely, and volunteered when your own knees were screaming. But when it comes time for leadership decisions, they want fresh blood. When they need someone to share their testimony, they call the younger converts with their dramatic salvation stories, not you with your quiet, steady faith. The silence of God has been deafening, hasn't it? You've whispered his name in hospital waiting rooms, clutched his promises through financial storms, and held on to his word when death took people you couldn't afford to lose. Yet it feels like your prayers hit the ceiling and fall back down like rejected mail. You've wondered if Isaiah 49:15 was just poetry when it says, "Can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has borne? Though she may forget, I will not forget you." But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Your invisibility to man has been your intimacy with God. While others were building their platforms, you were building your prayer life. While they were chasing applause, You were chasing his presence. While they were networking, you were interceding. And every tear you've cried in secret, every disappointment you've swallowed in silence, every moment you felt forgotten by the world, God saw it all. Psalm 56:8 tells us, "You have collected all my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your record?" Every single tear you've shed is documented in heaven's archives. The tears from watching your children make destructive choices. The tears from being passed over for that promotion you deserved. The tears from losing friends to death and others to indifference. The tears from feeling like your prayers were bouncing off heaven's door. God hasn't forgotten you. He's been collecting evidence. You see, there's something powerful about being overlooked by people but overseen by the Almighty. There's something dangerous about being underestimated by earth but overvalued by heaven. You've been seasoned by suffering, refined by rejection, and purified by pain. And now, after decades of being in the background, God is about to move you to the foreground in a way that will shock everyone who thought your best days were behind you. The very children who treat you like you're losing your mind are about to witness your prophetic clarity. The bosses who forced you into retirement are about to see your divine comeback. The friends who stopped calling are about to hear about your breakthrough through the grapevine. The church leaders who overlooked your wisdom are about to need your counsel. You've been misunderstood, misjudged, and marginalized. But Wednesday morning, God is about to flip the narrative. The same mouth that whispered doubt about you will whisper in awe of what God does through you. The same eyes that looked past you will strain to see how heaven transformed you. The same hearts that dismissed you will hunger for what you carry. Your loneliness hasn't been punishment, it's been preparation. Your isolation hasn't been abandonment, it's been appointment. Your silence hasn't been weakness, it's been worship. And every moment you felt forgotten, you were actually being positioned for a comeback so profound that it will leave no room for coincidence, no space for skepticism. This Wednesday morning isn't just another day on the calendar. It's a divine appointment between your pain and God's power. It's the moment when your hidden oil becomes visible flame. It's when your whispered prayers become manifested miracles. It's when your patient endurance becomes powerful emergence. If you've ever been misunderstood by your own children, left out by people who said they loved you, dismissed by those who should have honored you, just comment one word: still here, because that's all God needs to raise a miracle. 2 words that declare you haven't been defeated by disappointment, destroyed by doubt, or diminished by dismissal. You're still here because heaven isn't finished with you yet. You're still breathing because your greatest chapter is still unwritten. You're still standing because Wednesday morning is coming, and with it, the vindication you've been waiting for. But here's the question that will determine everything. When God shows up to silence your doubters, will you be ready to step into the spotlight you've been avoiding? Or will you shrink back into the shadows you've grown comfortable in? You know what breaks my heart? How many of God's chosen ones have been programmed to believe that miracles only happen on Sundays? That divine appointments only come during church hours? That God's voice only echoes through stained glass windows and cathedral ceilings? But here's a truth that will shatter everything you've been taught. Heaven doesn't operate on your religious calendar. Wednesday morning, hump day they call it, the forgotten middle child of the week. While Monday comes with motivation and Friday brings freedom, Wednesday just exists. Ordinary, overlooked, underestimated, just like you. But chosen one, let me tell you something that will revolutionize how you see this day forever. In the kingdom of heaven, Wednesday isn't the middle of nowhere, it's the center of everything. It's the pivot point where God loves to demonstrate his power precisely because nobody expects it. Think about this. When did Elijah hear the still small voice of God? Not during the earthquake, not during the fire, not during the wind, but in the quiet whisper that came after. 1 Kings 19:12 says, "And after the earthquake a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire, and after the fire a still small voice." God specializes in showing up when the noise dies down and the crowd goes home. Daniel didn't receive his most powerful visions during the Sabbath celebrations. Chapter 10, verse 4 tells us it was in the 24th day of the first month, an ordinary Tuesday morning by the river, when heaven split open and an angel appeared with a message that would change his destiny forever. Why does God do this? Because ordinary moments reveal extraordinary faith. Anyone can believe for a miracle on Sunday morning when the worship team is playing and the atmosphere is electric, but it takes a chosen one to expect divine intervention on a Wednesday morning when you're stuck in traffic, running late for work, and wondering if God even remembers your name. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. Your breakthrough isn't delayed, it's disguised. It's wrapped in the ordinary paper of a regular Wednesday, hidden behind the mundane moments that everyone else dismisses. But you're not everyone else, are you? You've been carrying something that doesn't match your circumstances, dreams that are too big for your bank account, visions that make your family nervous, a calling that your friends can't understand. And Wednesday morning, this seemingly insignificant slice of time is about to become your Red Sea moment. And God doesn't part waters quietly. Remember what happened at the Red Sea? The Israelites were trapped between Pharaoh's army and impossible waters. It wasn't Sunday. It wasn't a religious holiday. It was just another day of desperation when Moses lifted his rod and the impossible became inevitable. Exodus 14:21. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night. All that night. While they slept in uncertainty, God worked in the darkness. And when morning came, their Wednesday morning, the path to their promise was revealed. That's your story today. While you've been sleeping in confusion, God has been working in the shadows. While you've been wondering if He forgot about you, He's been moving pieces on a chessboard you can't even see. While you've been questioning your worth, He's been orchestrating your worthship, your moment, to worship through the manifestation of His power in your life. But here's where it gets personal, chosen one. Here's where this stops being a nice sermon and becomes your survival manual. How many Wednesday mornings have you wasted wishing they were something else? How many ordinary moments have you dismissed because they didn't come with fireworks and angel choirs? How many divine appointments have you missed because you were looking for God in the spectacular instead of recognizing Him in the simple? The truth is, most people miss their miracles because they're dressed like Wednesdays. Your promotion might come through a random phone call. Your healing might manifest during your morning coffee. Your life partner might be introduced through a delayed train. Your financial breakthrough might arrive in an envelope you almost threw away. God is not obligated to announce His movements with trumpets and spotlights. Sometimes His greatest victories whisper. And this Wednesday morning, your whisper is about to become a roar. It may be Wednesday on your calendar, but in heaven's eyes, this is your Red Sea moment. This is your Daniel 10:4 encounter. This is your 1 Kings 19:12 still small voice breaking through the chaos of your circumstances. The same God who split seas, stopped suns, and raised the dead is about to do something in your life that will silence every voice that said you weren't chosen, weren't qualified, weren't ready. But you have to be awake for it. You have to be watching. You have to be ready to recognize divine intervention when it shows up wearing work clothes instead of wedding attire. Comment the time you're watching this right now and say, "I'm ready for my Wednesday deliverance." Let us stand in agreement as a global army of the chosen, declaring that this ordinary day is about to become your extraordinary testimony. Because what God is about to do in your life won't just shock your doubters, it's going to shock you. Are you ready to see what heaven looks like when it invades a Wednesday morning? You know what hurts more than being broke? Being brilliant and having nobody believe it. You know what stings deeper than failure? Having vision and watching people treat it like a joke. You know what cuts to the bone? Spending decades carrying God-sized dreams while living in a world that sees you as ordinary. But here's what I need you to understand. Chosen one. Every doubt thrown at you wasn't random. Every dismissal wasn't accidental. Every time someone looked at you and said, "Not them," that was divine setup, not divine rejection. Let me take you back to a prison cell in Egypt. Joseph is 30 years old, forgotten, falsely accused, rotting in chains. His own brothers sold him into slavery. Potiphar's wife destroyed his reputation. The butler he helped get released forgot him for 2 whole years. If social media existed back then, the comments would have read, "This dude still thinks he's gonna rule something. He can't even stay out of jail." But God was watching. God was orchestrating. God was using every betrayal to position Joseph for the palace. Because here's the divine paradox. The pit always comes before the promotion. The rejection always precedes the revelation. Hannah walked into that temple year after year, barren, broken, begging God for a child. Eli the priest looked at her passionate prayers and said, "Lady, you're drunk. Get yourself together." Even the man of God couldn't recognize a woman in spiritual labor. Even religious leadership dismissed what heaven was about to birth through her. But God heard every whisper. God saw every tear. And when Samuel was born, he became the prophet who would anoint kings. You think you're being overlooked. You're being prepared. You think you're being forgotten. You're being positioned. You think you're being dismissed. You're being developed for something so big that only God gets the glory when it happens. Let me tell you about Colonel Sanders. That man was 62 years old when he started Kentucky Fried Chicken. 62. In a world that whispers your time is up to anyone over 50, this man was just getting started. He got rejected 1,009 times before someone said yes to his chicken recipe. 1,009 rejections. But rejection wasn't his enemy, it was his resume. Every no was building his testimony. Grandma Moses didn't pick up a paintbrush until she was 78 years old. 78. She became one of America's most celebrated folk artists, painting until she was 101. While the world counts you out because of your age, God is just warming you up. And let me tell you about Denzel Washington's mother, Lennis. She cleaned houses for decades while raising her children. People saw a housekeeper. God saw a kingdom builder. She didn't just clean homes, she built a legacy. Her son didn't just become an actor, he became a voice for righteousness in Hollywood because of the foundation she laid in obscurity. Here's what your doubters don't understand. God doesn't choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen. He doesn't pick the celebrated. He celebrates the faithful. He doesn't anoint the applauded. He applauds the anointed. Even Jesus, the Son of the living God, walked into his hometown of Nazareth, and they said, "Isn't this the carpenter's son? Who does he think he is?" Mark 6:4 says, "A prophet is not without honor, except in his own country, and among his own relatives, and in his own house." If they doubted Jesus in his hometown, what makes you think they won't doubt you in yours? But here's the revelation that will set your soul on fire. What your enemies meant as rejection, God is using as revelation. They thought they buried you, but they didn't know you were a seed. Every time they counted you out, God was counting you in. Every time they wrote you off, heaven was writing you up. The doubt isn't your disqualification, it's your diploma. The dismissal isn't your defeat, it's your degree from the University of Divine Preparation. Because when God finally elevates you, when he finally showcases you, when he finally validates you in front of the very people who rejected you, there will be no question about who deserves the credit. You see, God loves to use the doubted because when the breakthrough comes, nobody can say it was connections, nobody can say it was privilege, nobody can say it was luck. They'll have to say it was God. And that's exactly what's about to happen this Wednesday morning. Every person who looked at your age and saw limitation is about to see demonstration. Every voice that whispered too old is about to hear right on time. Every eye that saw ordinary is about to witness extraordinary. The doubt that has haunted you is about to become the platform that honors you. The rejection that wounded you is about to become the foundation that elevates you. The dismissal that discouraged you is about to become the testimony that delivers others. Tag someone right now who's been underestimated their whole life. Let them know God is about to silence every voice that spoke against you. Wednesday morning isn't just coming, it's arriving with divine vindication that will leave no room for doubt. But before we go further, I need you to understand something crucial about timing. Now listen to me carefully, chosen one, because what I'm about to tell you will separate those who are truly called from those who are just curious. Wednesday morning isn't coming like any other morning you've experienced. God has been orchestrating something in the spiritual realm, and the signs are about to break through into your physical reality like lightning splitting the sky. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That restlessness in your spirit, that sense that something massive is shifting. You wake up at 3:17 a.m. with your heart pounding, not from fear, but from anticipation your soul can't explain. You've been having dreams that feel more real than your waking hours. Dreams where you're standing in places you've never been, talking to people you've never met, yet everything feels familiar, like you're remembering the future. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Those aren't random dreams, those are prophetic downloads. God is showing you Wednesday before Wednesday arrives. Isaiah 30:21 declares, "Your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" But here's the part that'll shake you to your core. That voice isn't always going to sound like thunder from heaven. Sometimes it's going to come through your email inbox at 6:43 a.m. Sometimes it's going to ring through your phone from a number you don't recognize. Sometimes it's going to flash across your television screen in a news headline that makes your spirit leap before your mind can process why. God doesn't always speak in King James English with angels and harps. Sometimes he speaks through a text message that says exactly what your heart needed to hear. Sometimes he whispers through a stranger in the grocery store who hands you a receipt with numbers that match the very scripture verse you prayed about last night. But here's where most people miss it completely. They're looking for God to show up the way he did for Moses or Abraham, but they're not watching for him to move the way he moves in 2024. Your burning bush might be a phone call that changes everything. Your Red Sea moment might be an email that opens a door you didn't even know existed. Wednesday morning, I need you to pay attention to everything. And I mean everything. The song that plays on your radio when you start your car. The conversation you overhear in line at the coffee shop. The billboard you've driven past 1,000 times but suddenly notice for the first time. The social media post that stops your scrolling dead in its tracks. God has been aligning divine appointments that are going to collide with your Wednesday in ways that will leave you breathless. That person who's been on your heart for weeks, they might call. That opportunity you've been praying about for months, the door might crack open. That situation you've been battling for years, the breakthrough might begin. But here's the part that separates the chosen from the comfortable. You have to be watching. You have to be expectant. You have to be spiritually alert, because God's confirmations don't always come with spotlights and fanfare. They come with whispers that only the spiritually sensitive can hear. I want you to do something that might sound crazy, but stay with me. Get a notebook. Not your phone, not a digital app, an actual notebook. And starting right now, I want you to write down everything unusual that happens between now and Wednesday night. Every strange coincidence, every unexpected conversation, every dream that feels too real, every moment when you feel that holy nudge in your spirit, because here's what's going to blow your mind. When you look back at that notebook next Thursday, you're going to see a pattern that will make your knees buckle. You're going to see God's fingerprints all over Wednesday in ways that will silence every doubt you've ever carried about whether he still speaks to his people. The doubters in your life think you're imagining things. They think you're being dramatic when you talk about feeling God's presence. They roll their eyes when you mention divine timing and spiritual signs. But Wednesday morning is going to shut their mouths permanently, because when God decides to show up for his chosen ones, he doesn't show up quietly. He shows up with evidence so undeniable that even the skeptics have to acknowledge something supernatural just happened. So I'm asking you right now, Are you ready to watch for God with the intensity of a soldier on guard duty? Are you prepared to document his movements like a detective gathering evidence? Because Wednesday isn't just another day on your calendar. Wednesday is your divine appointment with destiny, and the signs are already in motion. What happens when the creator of the universe decides to personally validate everything you've been believing in the dark? Listen to me, chosen one, because what I'm about to tell you is going to shake the very foundations of every doubt that's been whispering lies in your ear for years. You've been sitting in that back row long enough. You've been watching from the sidelines while people with half your anointing get the spotlight. You've been biting your tongue while mediocrity gets the microphone and compromise gets the crown. But Wednesday morning, God is about to flip every table in your favor. The very people who rolled their eyes when you said God had a plan for your life are about to have their jaws drop so hard they'll need medical attention. The family members who called you delusional are going to be calling you for advice. The co-workers who treated you like you were invisible are going to see you so clearly they'll need sunglasses. But here's what's going to shock them the most. You're not going to rise with revenge burning in your heart. You're going to rise with a peace so profound, so unshakable, that they'll know without a shadow of a doubt that this vindication didn't come from your effort, it came from your Father. Psalm 23:5 says, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, not behind closed doors where nobody can see, not in private where it doesn't matter. In the presence of those who counted you out, God is setting a feast. And they're going to have front row seats to watch you dine on breakthrough." You know what that table represents? It's not just blessing, it's public vindication. It's God saying to everyone who ever doubted you, "You were wrong about my child, dead wrong." But let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. How long are you going to let their opinions about you matter more than God's promises over you? How long are you going to shrink back because they can't see what heaven sees in you? Some of you have been so beaten down by rejection that you've started to believe maybe they're right. Maybe you are too old. Maybe you did miss your season. Maybe God's plan was for someone else, not you. Stop right there. Romans 8:18 declares, "I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us." That word revealed means uncovered, unveiled, made manifest. God hasn't forgotten about your glory. He's been keeping it under wraps until the perfect moment to unveil it. And that moment is Wednesday morning. The enemy has been working overtime to convince you that your time has passed, that your dreams expired with your youth, that your calling got lost in the mail somewhere between disappointment and defeat. But the devil is a liar, and Wednesday morning he's about to be exposed as the fraud he's always been. You see, while you've been crying in secret, God has been working in silence. While you've been wondering if he forgot your address, he's been rearranging the entire neighborhood. While you've been questioning if your prayers are getting through, heaven has been answering them in ways so strategic, so perfectly timed, that when it all comes together, even you will be shocked at how good God is. This isn't just about getting a blessing. This is about divine reversal. This is about God taking every no that broke your heart and turning it into fuel for your comeback. This is about him taking every door that slammed in your face and using it to build the platform you're about to stand on. The people who said you were too emotional are about to see that emotion channeled into power. The ones who said you were too intense are about to witness that intensity ignite miracles. The voices that told you to tone it down are about to beg you to turn it up, because they're going to need that same fire you carry to survive what's coming in their own lives. But here's what separates this Wednesday from every other day you've hoped for breakthrough. This time, you're not begging God to move. You're preparing for him to do what he already decided to do before you even asked. This isn't about earning favor. You already have it. This isn't about proving your worth. God already established that when he chose you before the foundation of the world. This is about divine timing meeting desperate faith. And when those two forces collide, miracles don't just happen, they explode. Your reversal season isn't coming, it's here. It landed the moment you stopped apologizing for who God made you to be. It activated the second you decided to stand up on the inside before anyone could see you standing on the outside. Wednesday morning, when that phone rings with the opportunity you stopped praying for, when that door opens that you thought was welded shut, when that person who ignored you for years suddenly wants to collaborate, don't you dare call it coincidence. Call it what it is: God showing off for his favorite child. If you feel this word burning in your spirit like fire in your bones, if you know in your knower that this reversal season is yours, then shout in the comments, "This is my reversal season." Say it until the enemy hears you. Say it until heaven hears you. Say it until you believe it with every fiber of your being. Because Wednesday morning, the whole world is going to hear something they never expected to hear from you: the sound of victory. But before that sound comes forth, there's something you need to understand about the weapon God is about to place in your hands. You know what's more powerful than thunder? Silence. You know what's more devastating than God's anger? His quiet vindication. See, the world expects God to show up with fireworks and fanfare. They expect him to announce his chosen ones with billboards and brass bands. But here's what 60 years of walking with the Almighty has taught me: God doesn't always clap back. Sometimes he just places you exactly where they said you'd never be and lets them choke on the view. Think about Daniel in the lion's den. The Bible doesn't say God sent an angel to wrestle the lions. It doesn't say he created a force field around Daniel. Scripture simply says in Daniel 6:22, "My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths." God didn't eliminate the threat. He silenced it. The lions were still there. The danger was still real. But in the presence of the chosen one, even the predators went mute. That's what's happening to you right now, chosen one. God isn't removing your doubters. He's silencing them. Your supervisor who passed you over for that promotion. They're about to watch you walk into an opportunity they could never dream of reaching. Your family members who called your dreams unrealistic. They're about to witness God making the impossible look effortless in your life. Your former friends who said you were too much, too deep, too spiritual. They're about to see what too blessed actually looks like. But here's the part that'll shake you to your core. God doesn't need to prove them wrong. He just needs to prove you right. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai, Exodus 34:29 says, Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone because he had been talking with God. He wasn't trying to glow. He wasn't performing for the crowd. He'd simply been in the presence of the Almighty, and it changed him from the inside out. The glory was so undeniable that the Israelites couldn't even look at him directly. That's you this Wednesday morning. You're not going to announce your vindication. You're going to radiate it. The promotion that comes out of nowhere. The relationship that heals overnight. The opportunity that drops into your lap like manna from heaven. The financial breakthrough that makes no sense on paper but perfect sense in the spirit. You won't have to explain it because you can't explain it. You'll just have to walk in it. And here's what's going to happen to every person who counted you out. They're going to go silent. Not because they're speechless with admiration, though some will be. They'll go silent because they'll finally understand they've been watching someone who walks with God, and you don't mock what you don't understand. You reverence it. Remember when Jesus walked into the synagogue and read from Isaiah? Luke 4:20 says, "And he closed the book and gave it back to the attendant and sat down. And the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him." He didn't have to argue his point. He didn't have to defend his calling. The anointing spoke for itself, and the room went dead, silent. That's your Wednesday morning, chosen one. The room is about to go silent. Your co-workers will stop their side conversations when you walk in. Your relatives will pause their criticisms when they see what God is doing in your life. Your neighbors will quit their gossip when they witness the favor that follows you home. God doesn't always speak in burning bushes and parted seas. Sometimes he speaks in the sudden hush that falls over a room when his chosen ones walk in. Sometimes his voice is the silence of your enemies. Sometimes his confirmation is the way people stop talking when they see what he's placed in your hands. So here's my question for you. Are you ready to walk into rooms and watch conversations stop? Are you prepared for the weight of carrying God's glory so obviously that people can't help but stare? If you've felt his whisper lately, or you're desperate for his voice, comment right now. Speak, Lord, I'm listening. Let this moment mark your surrender to a God who validates in whispers and vindicates in silence. Because Wednesday morning, the earthquake isn't coming with noise, it's coming with the kind of quiet that makes everyone hold their breath. You know what hurts the most? It's not the rejection, it's not even the betrayal. It's when people look right through you like you're invisible, like your 70 years on this earth somehow made you irrelevant. Like your grey hair erased your relevance. Like your slower step diminished your significance. They forgot your name at the office retirement party. They mispronounced your purpose at the family gathering. Your own children speak about you in the third person while you're sitting right there. The world labeled you senior citizen and filed you away under past tense. But here's what they don't understand about God's economy. He doesn't operate by earthly timelines. He doesn't see expiration dates. He doesn't count wrinkles as disqualifications. When the Almighty looks at you, he doesn't see what time took away. He sees what eternity placed within you. Isaiah 43:1 declares, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine." Did you catch that? He didn't just choose you, he named you. Before your mother whispered your first name, God had already engraved it on the palms of his hands. The world saw age, God saw anointing. They saw limitations, God saw unleashed potential. They saw your final chapter, God saw your finest hour. You want to know why you feel so restless lately, why sleep comes harder, why you wake up at 3 a.m. with this burning sensation in your chest that you can't explain? It's because your calling doesn't have a retirement plan. Your purpose doesn't come with an expiration date. Your anointing doesn't fade with your hairline. Moses was 80 when God called him to deliver a nation. 80, when everyone else was telling him to find a nice rocking chair in Midian. God was saying, "Now you're ready for the Red Sea." Sarah was 90 when she conceived Isaac. 90, when her body said impossible, God said, "Watch this." Anna the prophetess was 84 when she recognized the Messiah in the temple. While younger eyes looked right past Jesus, her seasoned spirit discerned divine destiny in swaddling clothes. They think your best days are behind you. God knows your greatest assignment is ahead of you. But here's where it gets controversial. Here's where I'm going to step on some religious toes. The church told you to sit down, be quiet, let the young folks take over. Society convinced you that wisdom comes with invisibility. Your own family programmed you to believe that your voice no longer matters. That's not God. That's a lie from the pit of hell, designed to silence the most dangerous weapon in God's arsenal. A senior saint who finally understands their identity. You've lived long enough to see through the facades. You've buried enough dreams to know which ones are worth fighting for. You've survived enough storms to recognize the difference between temporary weather and permanent climate change. You've accumulated enough scars to differentiate between surface wounds and soul-deep transformations. The enemy didn't attack you all these years to destroy you. He attacked you to prevent this moment, this awakening, this recognition that you're not winding down. You're gearing up. This Wednesday morning, something is shifting in the heavenlies. God is about to vindicate every senior saint who's been told they're too old, too slow, too outdated, too irrelevant. He's about to show the world that his greatest moves often come through his most seasoned vessels. You feel it, don't you? That stirring in your spirit, that holy restlessness that won't let you settle into the rocking chair they bought for you. That's not nostalgia. That's not wishful thinking. That's prophecy trying to birth itself through you. He didn't just choose you, he named you. And Wednesday morning, he's about to call that name so loudly that even your doubters will have to acknowledge it. The young ones have energy, you have wisdom, they have enthusiasm, you have endurance, they have dreams, you have discernment. They see possibilities. You see strategies. God doesn't need your youth. He needs your yielded heart. He doesn't require your physical strength. He demands your spiritual maturity. He's not looking for your perfect body. He's claiming your purified soul. Right now, as I speak these words, heaven is preparing to release assignments that only seasoned saints can handle. Missions that require the kind of faith that's been tested by decades, not days. Callings that demand the type of character that's been forged in the furnace of real life, real loss, real victory. Your wrinkles are battle scars from spiritual warfare. Your grey hair is a crown of glory earned through faithfulness. Your slower gait is the measured step of someone who's learned to walk with God. Wednesday morning is coming, and when it arrives, every person who wrote you off, counted you out, or filed you under irrelevant is about to get the shock of their lifetime. The question isn't whether God still has a plan for your life. The question is, are you ready to stop apologizing for taking up space and start occupying the territory He's assigned to your name? Because He's about to call that name. And when He does, the whole world is going to remember exactly who you are. You know what haunts you in the middle of the night? It's not fear of failure. It's that whisper that says, "Why me? Why would God pick someone like me when there are so many others who seem more qualified, more polished, more normal?" Let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. You've been asking the wrong question your entire life. The question isn't why me, the question is why not me? Because while you've been drowning in self-doubt, God has been watching you survive things that would have destroyed weaker souls. While you've been apologizing for taking up space, heaven has been preparing you for a stage that requires exactly the kind of strength that only comes from walking through fire. You think David was chosen because he was the strongest of Jesse's sons. Scripture tells us in 1 Samuel 16:7 that man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. When the prophet Samuel came looking for Israel's next king, David's own father didn't even bother calling him in from the fields. His own daddy left him with the sheep, while his brothers got the royal interview. But here's what Jesse didn't understand, and here's what your doubters still don't get. God doesn't choose based on human resumes. He chooses based on spiritual readiness. And spiritual readiness only comes through spiritual warfare. David wasn't chosen despite being overlooked. He was chosen because being overlooked had taught him to depend on God alone. Those lonely nights protecting sheep from lions and bears weren't punishment, they were preparation. Every rejection, every moment of being forgotten, every time he had to stand alone, it was God building character that couldn't be taught in a classroom or inherited through bloodline. You want to know why you've felt like an outsider your whole life? Because you were never meant to fit into their small circles. You were meant to create your own galaxy. Think about Anna Mary Robertson, better known as Grandma Moses. For 78 years, she was nobody special. A farmer's wife in upstate New York. Raised 5 kids, lost 5 kids, worked her fingers to the bone, and the world never knew her name. Then arthritis took away her ability to do needlework, so she picked up a paintbrush. At 78 years old, when most people are settling into rocking chairs, she painted her first masterpiece. By the time she died at 101, her paintings were hanging in museums worldwide. Presidents were buying her art. The woman who was invisible for nearly 8 decades became one of America's most celebrated artists. But here's the part that'll give you chills. She couldn't have painted those masterpieces at 30. The wisdom in her brushstrokes came from decades of heartbreak. The depth in her colors came from years of unseen struggles. The peace in her landscapes came from learning to find beauty in ordinary moments that others rushed past. God didn't waste her first 78 years. He was preparing her canvas. And He hasn't wasted a single day of your preparation either. You see, you've been thinking your rejections were evidence that you don't matter. But what if I told you they were evidence that you matter too much? What if every door that slammed in your face was God protecting you from settling for less than His best? What if every person who couldn't see your value was simply proving they weren't qualified to recognize royalty. Romans 8:28 promises us that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. That doesn't mean all things are good. It means God has the supernatural ability to weave even your worst moments into your greatest victories. You were rejected for decades because they couldn't handle what you carried. Your light was too bright for their comfort zones. Your questions were too deep for their shallow conversations. Your dreams were too big for their small minds. But this Wednesday morning, all of that changes. You know what oil does when you pour it into water? It separates, it rises, it refuses to blend in with what's beneath it. You, chosen one, you are oil. And oil doesn't float to the top until the fire comes. For years, you've been wondering why you feel different, why you don't fit, why your spirit feels restless in spaces where others seem perfectly content. It's because you're not made of the same substance as the crowd. You're made of something rarer, something more valuable, something that only reveals its true nature under pressure. Every heartbreak was adding weight to your testimony. Every betrayal was building immunity to people-pleasing. Every night you cried yourself to sleep was developing your capacity to comfort others in their darkest hours. Every time you had to stand alone was teaching you that your strength doesn't come from human approval, it comes from divine approval. And divine approval, dear one, never expires, never diminishes, and never depends on popular vote. This Wednesday morning, when God moves on your behalf, it won't be gentle, it won't be quiet, it won't be something people can explain away or minimize. It will be undeniable, unmistakable, and absolutely enhancing supernatural. Because when God finally says, "Now is your time," the same people who couldn't see your value will suddenly become experts on your worth. The same voices that whispered you weren't enough will be shouting about how they always believed in you. But by then, their opinions won't matter anymore. Because you'll finally understand what God has known all along. You weren't chosen because you were perfect. You were chosen because you were prepared. And everything, absolutely everything that tried to break you was actually building you for this very moment. So tell me, chosen one, are you ready to stop apologizing for being different and start celebrating what makes you dangerous? You know what's been driving you crazy? You've been attacked for things you haven't even done yet. You've been sabotaged for dreams you haven't even spoken out loud. You've been criticized for a calling you're still trying to understand yourself. And you keep asking, God, why is this happening to me when I'm just trying to live right? Here's the shocking truth they don't want you to know. The devil wasn't fighting your past. He was terrified of your future. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. There's a file in heaven with your name on it. Not just documenting your pain, but your plans. Not just recording your struggles, but your assignments. Psalm 139:16 says it plainly. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Every single day of your life was pre-written in heaven's archives before your first breath hit earthly air. Your breakthrough Thursday was scheduled before your broken Tuesday ever happened. Your promotion was documented before your persecution even began. But here's what'll blow your mind. The enemy can read the atmospheric shifts around your life. He can sense when heaven's about to move. He can feel the rumble before the earthquake. That's why your warfare has been so intense lately. That's why people have been coming against you for no logical reason. That's why doors have been slamming shut just when you thought you were making progress. You think the attacks were random? Think again. The devil assigned extra demons to your case because heaven assigned extra angels to your destiny. The deeper the warfare, the greater the calling. The fiercer the fight, the more powerful your future. Hell doesn't waste ammunition on insignificant targets. You've been wondering why your life feels like a battleground when all you want is peace. It's because you're not carrying ordinary purpose. You're carrying kingdom-shaking, demon-terrifying, heaven-backed authority that hasn't been activated yet. And the enemy knows that once you figure out what you're really carrying, his game is over. Revelation 5-8 tells us something that'll revolutionize how you see your prayers. Each one held a harp and golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of God's holy people. Your prayers aren't just floating around in space. They're being collected in golden bowls in heaven's throne room. Every midnight cry, every desperate plea, every whispered "God, help me" has been stored up like sacred inventory. And Wednesday morning, some of those bowls are about to be poured out. You've been feeling like your prayers bounce off the ceiling. That's because they've been accumulating in heaven's storage room, waiting for divine timing. God doesn't just answer prayers. He strategically releases them for maximum impact. And when he opens those golden bowls over your life, everyone who counted you out will have to count you in. But here's where it gets dangerous for the devil. You're starting to wake up to who you really are. Every single attack on your life has been a confirmation that you're carrying something hell desperately wants to stop. Your rejection wasn't random. Your delay wasn't accidental. Your isolation wasn't punishment. It was protection. God has been hiding you until your appointed time, because what you're about to step into would have destroyed you if you'd gotten it too early. The enemy has been studying your bloodline, your gifts, your conversations with God. He's seen the blueprint of your future impact. He knows about the lives you're going to change, the strongholds you're going to break, the territories you're going to take. That's why he sent premature warfare to try to break you before you could break his systems. Think about it. Why would hell waste time on someone who's not a threat? Why would demons lose sleep over someone who's not dangerous? The intensity of your spiritual warfare is proof positive that you're carrying something that threatens the kingdom of darkness. You keep asking, why me? The better question is, why not me? You were handpicked, pre-selected, divinely drafted for such a time as this. Your pain qualified you. Your perseverance promoted you. Your prayers positioned you. Wednesday morning isn't just another day on the calendar. It's a divine appointment that's been scheduled in heaven's courtroom since before time began. The gavel is about to drop on every case that's been built against you. The verdict is about to be read on every accusation that's been whispered about you. And when God vindicates his chosen ones, he doesn't do it quietly. He does it publicly. He doesn't whisper your victory. He announces it. He doesn't hide your breakthrough. He displays it for everyone who needs to see that. He still shows up for those who trust him. The reason your enemies have been so bold is because they haven't seen your God move yet. But that's about to change. This Wednesday, heaven is about to remind them who backs you, who fights for you, who has the final say over your life. If you've ever felt like the attacks on your life made no sense, drop this in the comments right now. I must be carrying something dangerous, because you are. You're carrying the very thing hell has been trying to abort, delay, and destroy. But what hell meant for destruction, God has been using for construction. What was meant to break you has been making you. What was designed to stop you has been strengthening you for the moment when all of heaven's investments in your life pay divine dividends. Wednesday morning, the file gets opened, the bowls get poured out, and every doubter gets their answer to the question they've been whispering. Who does she think she is? They're about to find out exactly who heaven says you are. You know what's beautiful about divine vindication? It doesn't come with fanfare. It doesn't arrive with trumpets or spotlights. It comes quietly, like morning mist rolling across a battlefield where the war has already been won. Listen to me, chosen one. While you've been crying in your car after another rejection, while you've been wondering if your prayers are hitting a brick wall, while you've been questioning whether God even remembers your name, he's been setting a table. And it's not just any table, it's the table. The one King David wrote about in Psalm 23-5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Do you understand what that means? Your enemies don't get to leave. They don't get to walk away. They don't get to pretend they didn't see what God is about to do. They have to sit there. They have to watch. They have to witness your vindication whether they want to or not. God isn't petty, He's precise. He doesn't forget who laughed when you shared your vision. He doesn't overlook who rolled their eyes when you mentioned your calling. He's been taking notes this whole time. And Wednesday morning, the report card comes due. Think about this for a moment. Every person who said you were too much, they're going to have to sit through your breakthrough. Every boss who passed you over for someone less qualified, they'll have to watch as doors open for you that they can't even see. Every family member who called your dreams unrealistic, they're going to witness the impossible become inevitable. But here's what will shock you most. God won't make them applaud. He won't force them to celebrate. He'll just make them watch. Because sometimes the most powerful form of vindication isn't getting an apology, it's watching people realize they were wrong about you while being powerless to stop what's unfolding. You've been asking God to move mountains, but He's been doing something far more strategic. He's been moving hearts, hardening some, softening others, positioning people like chess pieces on a board you can't see yet, the CEO who's about to call you, the opportunity that's about to surface, the connection that's about to emerge from nowhere. They're all connected to a divine strategy that's been orchestrated while you were sleeping. This Wednesday morning, you're going to understand why the delay was necessary, why the no had to come before the yes, why the rejection had to precede the acceptance. Because God doesn't just bless you, He positions your blessing so precisely that even your critics have to acknowledge His fingerprints are all over it. Remember when Joseph's brothers threw him in that pit? They thought they were destroying his future. But God was positioning him for a palace. Those same brothers who mocked his dreams eventually had to bow down and ask for his help. They didn't get to leave. They had to sit at the table of his triumph and swallow their pride with every bite. Your Wednesday morning is Joseph's moment. The same people who counted you out are about to become involuntary witnesses to your comeback. And here's the divine irony. They won't be able to explain it away. They won't be able to credit luck or timing or connections. The supernatural fingerprint will be so obvious that even skeptics will struggle to find natural explanations. But this table isn't being set for your ego. It's being prepared for your purpose. God isn't vindicating you just to make you feel good. He's positioning you so that when people see what He's done in your life, they'll have to acknowledge His power. Your breakthrough becomes their introduction to the God they've been ignoring. The table is being set right now. The chairs are being arranged. The meal is being prepared. And Wednesday morning, you're going to take your seat at a feast of favor that's been cooking in heaven's kitchen while you were fighting battles on earth. You don't need a microphone. You don't need a stage. You don't need to announce anything or defend yourself to anyone. Just sit down at the table He's setting for you and let them watch. Let them see what happens when God decides to showcase His faithfulness through a life that refused to quit. They'll have to sit through your breakthrough. They'll have to witness your restoration. They'll have to watch as every door they slammed in your face gets blown off its hinges by divine favor. But here's what I need you to understand. This isn't the end of your story. This table, this vindication, this moment of triumph, it's just the appetizer. God is preparing you for something so much bigger than settling the score with people who doubted you. So, as you prepare for Wednesday morning, ask yourself this. Are you ready to be used as evidence of God's faithfulness? Because that's exactly what's about to happen. You know what breaks my heart? Walking through life carrying the DNA of heaven while believing the lies of earth. Looking in the mirror and seeing ordinary when God sees extraordinary. Feeling small when you were designed to be significant. Let me tell you something that's going to shake the foundation of how you see yourself. You ready? You are not who you think you are. For decades, maybe your entire life, you've been living under a false identity. You've been told you're average. You've been convinced you're just another face in the crowd. You've accepted being overlooked, undervalued, and underestimated. But every single day you believed that lie, heaven was screaming the truth about who you really are. 1 Peter 2:9 says it plain as day. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, His own special people. Did you catch that? Chosen generation, royal priesthood. You're not just saved, sweetheart. You're royalty walking around in common clothes. Think about this for a moment. Every king and queen in history had to be revealed. They didn't walk around with crowns from birth. There was always a moment of unveiling, a coronation, a public declaration of who they truly were. And chosen one, your coronation is this Wednesday morning. You've been living undercover royalty, but God is removing the cloak. Now here's where it gets wild. Romans 8:19 declares, "For the earnest expectation of the creation waits for the manifestation of the sons of God." Let that sink deep into your bones. Creation itself is holding its breath, waiting for you to step into who you really are. The trees are waiting, the mountains are waiting. Even the angels are on standby, because when the chosen ones finally wake up to their identity, everything shifts. You think your problems are too big? Your calling is bigger. You think your past disqualifies you. Your future requalifies you. You think you're too old to matter. God's been preparing you for 70, 80, 90 years for this exact moment in time. But here's the thing that's going to mess with your mind. You're not supposed to be comfortable anymore. That restlessness you feel, that divine dissatisfaction, that's not depression, dear one. That's destiny knocking on the door of your spirit, demanding to be released. You are not a wanderer. You are a revealer. Every step you've taken, every tear you've cried, every door that slammed shut, every person who rejected you, it was all positioning you for this moment when God pulls back the curtain and shows the world who his chosen ones really are. The enemy has been working overtime to keep you small because he knows something you're just now discovering. When the sons and daughters of God step into their true identity, kingdoms shake. When royalty recognizes itself, governments tremble. When the chosen ones stop apologizing for their calling and start walking in their authority, hell panics. And this Wednesday morning, the panic begins. You've been asking God, when will my breakthrough come? But God's been asking you, when will you stop acting like a peasant and start walking like the prince or princess you are? Every time you shrink back, you're denying your bloodline. Every time you apologize for your dreams, you're insulting your designer. Every time you settle for less, you're rejecting your inheritance. But something supernatural happens when you finally accept who you are. Your posture changes, your voice changes, your prayer life changes, your expectations change, because you stop begging God for things you already own and start walking in the authority you already carry. The world has been waiting to see the real you, not the watered-down version, not the scared version, not the people-pleasing version. The unapologetic, uncompromising, undeniable version that makes demons flee and angels applaud. Remember earlier when I asked if you felt something shift when you clicked on this video? That wasn't just your body responding. That was your crown settling into place. That was your spirit recognizing truth. That was heaven saying, finally, they're ready to remember who they are. This Wednesday morning isn't just about vindication. It's about revelation. It's about the world finally seeing what God has always seen when he looks at you. So here's my question, chosen one. Are you ready to stop hiding and start reigning? Because once you step into this truth, there's no going back to ordinary. And trust me, after what happens this Wednesday morning, ordinary will never be an option again. You know what separates the chosen from the comfortable? It's not talent, it's not connections, it's not even faith. It's this: when God calls your name in the heavenly realms, every demon in hell hears it too. And they've been working overtime to make you forget that you were ever called at all. Right now, sitting wherever you are, you're carrying a name that was spoken before you took your first breath. Not the name on your birth certificate, not the name your mama gave you. The name that heaven recorded when God looked at you and said, this one will carry my fire into a dark world. But here's what the enemy did. He convinced you that names don't matter. That calling is just church talk. That you're just another face in the crowd, another social security number, another nobody hoping somebody notices. He made you believe that your worth is determined by who hired you, who married you, who validated you. Lies. All lies. Jesus said in John 10:3, He calls His own sheep by name and leads them out, not by their accomplishments, not by their degrees, not by their bank statements, by name, your spiritual name, the name that makes demons tremble and angels take notice. You've been living below your spiritual address. You've been introducing yourself by your problems instead of your purpose. You've been carrying a minimum wage mentality when heaven deposited maximum impact potential into your DNA. This Wednesday morning, God is about to remind the world what happens when someone finally answers to their heavenly name. Not the name that showed up on rejection letters, not the name that appears on bills you can't pay, the name that's written in the Lamb's Book of Life with permanent ink. Listen carefully. Chosen one. When Moses stood before that burning bush, God didn't ask for his resume. When David faced Goliath, God didn't check his military record. When Mary received the angel's message, heaven didn't run a background check. They just heard their name called from eternity, and everything changed. You've been waiting for someone to discover you, but discovery was never the assignment. Recognition was. You're not waiting to be found. You're waiting to remember who you already are. The world operates on a system of credentials, connections, and coincidences. But heaven operates on calling, character, and divine collision. What's coming for you this Wednesday doesn't respond to paperwork. It doesn't bow to protocols. It doesn't ask permission from gatekeepers. It responds to heaven's word. And heaven already spoke your name. You know why you felt so restless lately, why you can't get comfortable in spaces that used to satisfy you, why you keep hearing whispers in your spirit that sound like destiny calling. It's because your heavenly name is being activated. God is waking up gifts that have been sleeping. He's stirring up authority that's been dormant. He's calling you out of the wilderness and into your promised land. But here's the part that will shock your doubters into silence. When God calls your name, it's not a suggestion, it's a summons. When heaven speaks your identity, earth has no choice but to align. Doors that were locked will swing open. People who ignored you will suddenly see you. Opportunities that seemed impossible will become inevitable, because you don't need a resume when you have a revelation. You don't need connections when you have a calling. You don't need permission when you have purpose burning in your bones like fire shut up in your heart. Jeremiah 1-5 says, Before I formed you in the womb I knew you. Before you were born I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations. God didn't just know about you. He knew you. Your name, your assignment, your destiny, your Wednesday morning breakthrough. This is why the enemy fought so hard to make you feel average. This is why he whispered lies about your worth for years. This is why he tried to convince you that other people were chosen and you were just chosen last. Because he knew if you ever discovered your heavenly name, if you ever stepped into your spiritual identity, you'd become dangerous. And dangerous is exactly what you're about to become, not dangerous to people. Dangerous to systems that suppress the called. Dangerous to atmospheres that suffocate the anointed. Dangerous to every limitation that tried to convince you that you were meant for small things. This Wednesday morning, when God demonstrates His power through your life, your doubters won't just be shocked, they'll be silenced. Because when heaven validates who you are, earth has no choice but to take notice. You're not hoping for a breakthrough. You're walking into your birthright. You're not praying for a miracle, you're stepping into your identity. You're not asking God to choose you. You're finally answering to the name He's been calling all along. The question that will determine everything from this moment forward is simple. Will you answer when heaven calls your name, or will you keep pretending you didn't hear it? Because Wednesday morning is coming, chosen one, and your name is about to echo from the throne room straight into your reality. Let me leave you with this truth that I need you to carry in your heart. Your name isn't just known in heaven, it's celebrated there. Every prayer you've whispered in the dark, every tear you've cried in secret, every moment you felt forgotten, God saw it all, recorded it all, and is about to respond to it all. Remember this, chosen one. Wednesday morning isn't just another day on your calendar. It's a divine appointment that was scheduled before time began. The doubters who counted you out, the voices that said you weren't enough, the circumstances that tried to bury your dreams, they're all about to witness what happens when heaven decides to vindicate its own. You are not walking this journey alone. Right now, across this nation, from New York to California, from Texas to Maine, there are chosen ones just like you who have felt the same stirring, heard the same whisper, carried the same holy restlessness. We are a community bound not by geography but by calling, connected not by circumstance but by purpose. And tonight, as you prepare for what Wednesday will bring, know that thousands of us are standing with you in prayer, believing with you in faith, and expecting with you in hope. But I need to ask you this question, and I want you to really think about it. When Wednesday morning comes and God begins to move on your behalf, will you be ready to step into the fullness of who He's calling you to be? Will you walk boldly into your vindication, or will you shrink back into the shadows of who you used to be? Because what's coming isn't just for you, it's through you. Your breakthrough is going to be someone else's breakthrough. Your testimony is going to become someone else's faith. Your Wednesday morning is going to remind a hurting world that God still shows up for His chosen ones. Let's pray together now, as one family, one community, one voice rising to the throne of grace. Father God, I come to you right now on behalf of every precious soul who has stayed with us through this entire message. Lord, you see them, not just their faces, but their hearts. You know the battles they've fought in silence, the dreams they've protected in secret, the faith they've held on to when everything else fell apart. God, place your strong, gentle hand upon their shoulders right now. Let them feel your presence in this very moment. Pour your peace over their anxiety, your hope over their discouragement, your strength over their weariness. Remind them that they are not forgotten, not overlooked, not left behind. Lord, this Wednesday morning, I'm asking you to move in ways that leave no doubt, no question, no room for the enemy to whisper lies. Let your chosen ones see your hand, feel your power, and walk in your vindication. Open doors that no man can shut. Align divine connections. Release supernatural favor. For every person watching this who has been faithful in the waiting, faithful in the silence, faithful in the struggle, reward their faithfulness with your faithfulness. Let them wake up Wednesday morning knowing that their God is still on the throne, still working miracles, and still calling them by name. Father, protect their minds from doubt, their hearts from discouragement, and their spirits from the weariness of waiting. Fill them with fresh fire, new vision, and unshakable confidence in who you've called them to be. And Lord, use their testimonies to encourage others. Let their breakthrough become a bridge for someone else's deliverance. Make them carriers of your light in a dark world.